Let's take a look back to 1989. It seems like such a long time back then. The Soviet Union was still a thing. Yugoslavia hadn't blown up into a billion pieces yet, and the World Wide Web, which 1% of internet users now know is what www stands for, was first created. But most importantly, this was the year that the Berlin Wall began to fall, with the beginning of the end for what would be the communist influence in Eastern Europe. But you're not here today for the history lesson. You're here for the short film. Either that or you skipped everything to get here, but you ain't slick. 'Cause I know you. You got caught lacking. But without further ado, let's get into the 1989 short film, Balance. Balance is a short film, which is animated in stop motion by twin brothers, Wolfgang and Christoph Lauenstein. These guys are German, if you couldn't already tell by me butchering their names. Both were born in West Germany during the height of the Cold War. They often worked together on films and both went to the same school in 1989, they released Balanced. They are not very well known for much else, and their more recent films have received mixed reviews from critics, showing that for the most part they can make films but struggle with certain aspects or direction. Regardless, this seems to be their only film which has been wildly viewed, which is saying something given that this short film is pretty obscure. But what is this film? Well, let's get right into that. The film starts off with 5 people living on a small platform, floating in the middle of the void. These men are all identical apart from the number on the back of their coats. This will be important, so keep note of this. The numbers are 23, 35, 51, 75, and 77. I also want to mention that these guys start at the center of the platform standing, so I guess they were all sleeping standing up perfectly. It's not to tip the plane. Whenever one of them moves, the platform tilts, and the others must move as well to not have the platform tip over. They all move out to the edge of the platform, take out fishing rods, and cast their lines over the edge. I'm going to call them by their numbers. So number 51 reels in a large, heavy box while the others scramble to the opposite side of the platform. One by one, the individuals inspect the box. It has a wind-up key that causes the box to play music. As each man in turn moves to inspect the box, the platform becomes unstable, prompting everyone to converge in the center to keep the platform from tipping over. The man with the number 75 attempts to tip the box over the edge, but number 51 counterbalances the platform to prevent it. These two fight briefly, but it's enough to cause the box to slide over to number 52 and number 23, who tap dances to the tune as the others look on. 75, presumably, cause
Oh, so you didn't choose you on that bait!
disrupts the balance, tipping the platform and causing the box to slide towards him. But 23, having gotten a PhD in physics, sits on top of the box and moves with it. The added weight moves the box to the very edge of the platform. The others rearrange themselves to bring the box back to the center. Right in the box as it slides from side to side, 23 pushes 35 off the platform as the former slides to the very edge. The others rearrange themselves again to compensate for the loss of mass. 51 trips and falls over. 75 shoves 77 to the ground as he avoids the box. 77 scrambles to the opposite edge as 23 moves with the box again. 23 kicks 75 off the platform, unbalancing the platform and causing 77 to fall over the edge as well. 23 gets off the box, approaches 51, who was attempting to climb up, but kicks him over the edge. Now 11. 23 turns around to look at the box, which is perched on the edge furthest from him. Without the others, 23 has to maintain the balance on his own, keeping the box out of reach. One step back, and he falls. One step forward, and the box falls. He can only watch as the box slowly winds down and plays its music, which 23 is unable to hear. The ending shot is just beautiful, as it's just him simply looking on, as we can faintly hear the music box, but mostly the mechanical sounds and clanking that the video plays, overtaking it. The short ends just like that. So, after tying up the homeowner of this house, I just decided to live here until, they break out. But don't worry about that. We're going to continue. Balance is inherently a story about change, and how change can throw things out of a fragile balance. The way the humans are portrayed in this short is almost pessimistic, as they may care for one another, but mostly just to preserve themselves. This is best demonstrated once the box is introduced, as they all initially share it, but gradually they all become impatient, wanting to hear the box and use it. This is why 23 sits on it, because he knows that if anyone tried to get him off, it would require cooperation or the loss of the box entirely, something that no one is willing to do. The box does and is a representation of the change of power. He who has the box is likely to not be killed, and something like power is so universal to everyone that there will always be someone who wants more of it. I mean, think of people like politicians we've had, or people like managers. Someone will always have more power over others and a bigger say in the things that govern. And this isn't even a political statement, it's just fact. Someone will and will want more power. Because of this, I think the ending of Balance is so cathartic. 23 spends all his time killing and surviving just to remain, only for him to have the box and not be able to enjoy it. It is similar to people who have power but can't enjoy it due to whatever it may be. It almost makes you wonder what would have happened if the box was never caught, or if 75 actually succeeded in having it thrown off. It's very likely that 75 will represent someone who wants to keep the balance to the group, as well as maintain some form of status quo. He likely knew that the box would screw them over. However, he doesn't last. And another thing to really mention is that the film is really odd, in addition to what could have been. There's a lot of questions that do arise of what we are shown. Like, what are they fishing for? Who are the men? What do the numbers mean? And what is the plane? And most importantly, when will this plane be used in Super Smash Bros? I mean, it's just perfect. It's just as creatively designed and titled as the Smash Battlefield and Final Destination. Never mind, these maps kind of slap. Anyway, for most of these questions, let's get into the small theory section. I'll try to answer some of the questions posed, but also some of the other stuff in the film, but they're just theories. A film theory. From what they're fishing for, I can't really tell. The men look skinny, and considering that they're all the same, it's very likely that they're just fishing for food, or some item that they all can share among them. Considering that they never question anything, it's probably just part of their routine to find food for the next day. Either that, or it just says a lot about our society. Alternatively, this could just be a plot device used to move the story forward. How brave. The numbers are all different, but there's something very important to note about all these odd numbers. They're all odd numbers. But the most important one is 23, being the prime number, the only prime number within the group, showing that he's not like other boys. I think this helps 23 stand out, and he is the one that actually first attempts to sit on the box, demonstrating that he has thought ahead, and unlike others who were open sharing and typically lost the box fast, he was really the only one that wanted to keep it. But some questions I can't really explain, such as, why do they start all at the center? Like, do they just sleep standing up like the mannequins? Like the ones in the art room? And the other question is, what is the plane? This is just the weirdest part of this. It's suspended in the air with nothing to the bottom to really view. We even see one of the characters just kind of looking into the infinite void of like having some flashback or something. Oh, he's just there about to die. Like, it's so confusing, but if they're fine not questioning it, then it's probably best not to wonder why the plane is like this. Regardless, it's never really explained, and if there was an interview at some point between the brothers and someone who was curious about this work, it has either not been posted or it is just lost media, given that this work is not very popular and kind of hard to come by. Quick note about that, this is one of 3 videos of this whole thing. It's a re-upload, and it's one of 3, and it has a watermark on it. And another thing is, for the most, this work is pretty old, so if people had an interview, it'd be pretty hard to come by anyway. But now that we have some ideas for speculations, the plot, and theories out of the way, I think it's best to conclude this. Balance is a short film that shows how change can be worrisome, especially in the time that it came out. With the Berlin Wall being destroyed, there was a lot of speculation of what would happen to those in Eastern Europe, such as Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Romania, nations that had revolutions and uprisings during their communist regimes, but now seemingly were met with a crossroads, right, to see what would happen, a fork in the road, in all those nations under the influence of the Soviet Union as well. Along with the incidents such as the Cuban Missile Crisis, it's no wonder why balance is so important, because without it, especially the balance of power, or at least cooperation and compromise, this would never have been released, and in fact, it'd probably all be dead, or living in a nuclear wasteland. Who knows? I think this is what balance really aimed to achieve. It wanted to show how we as people will always strive to have more than others if it comes to our advantage. Balance is a video, or a short film, that shows the lengths of human ambition, as it begins with 5 relatively peaceful men, and ends with only one, watching the very thing he aimed to get be the thing to balance the very platform on which he stands, alone and quiet, with no one to keep him company. Thank you guys so much for watching this video on balance. This is a project I've wanted to do for a while now, but I'm now getting to it. Thank you for 50 subscribers and the explosion of the Jim's computer video, and I hope to make more future videos like this. But till then, I've been Top Hat King, and I will see you in next video. Have a good one.